Welcome to the KuppingerCole Analyst Chat. I'm your host. My name is Matthias Reinwarth. I'm an analyst and advisor at KuppingerCole Analysts. We will focus on specific and hopefully interesting topics that we as analysts encounter in our daily work. The work that we do is mainly focused on the topic areas of cybersecurity, identity and access management, AI, and much more. Here we do in-depth research, but also advisory work with vendors and end users as clients. In each edition, I'm joined by one guest, often a fellow analyst or another interesting partner, and we will have a 15 minutes or so chat around current topics. And my guest today is Alexei Balaganski. He is lead analyst with KuppingerCole, and today we will talk about ransomware and everything around that. So, hi, Alexei, welcome.
Hello, Matthias. Thanks for having me.
I'm very happy to have you here because you are one of our lead analysts in the area of cybersecurity. And that, of course, is just right now an interesting topic. And it's a real life topic because cybersecurity is gaining more and more importance while people are more working from home. We are still in this weird time of the corona pandemic, and ransomware and cybersecurity in general are what we call hot topics. It's really something that should be on everybody's mind today. So we want to talk about ransomware in general today. Can you give the audience a quick introduction what ransomware actually is? What is the idea, the concept behind that?
Well, as you might have guessed, the answer is actually right in the name. So ransomware is obviously a piece of malicious software that's designed to prevent you from accessing your computer or from working with your documents until you pay a ransom, that is an amount of money to a cyber attacker. Usually, such a piece of malware is delivered to you via a phishing campaign or a malicious link, so it's disguised as a legitimate program or document. But as soon as the user starts such a program, it kind of rears its ugly head and causing immediate damage to your system or to your files. Modern or most modern strains of ransomware usually encrypt your documents, office files, images, any other valuable pieces of digital information. Some are not as destructive, they just lock you up from accessing your computer. In any case, they will show you a message demanding you to pay a ransom. And it's really odd to think about it. Ransomware is such a huge topic, and yet it's absolutely not a technically complicated thing. Modern media make us believe that ransomware attacks is something which diabolically clever elite hacker groups come up with. In reality, however, ransomware is something which even a novice cyber criminal, almost a script kiddie, can launch with minimal resources, but really huge monetary return.
Okay, that was actually the thing that I was thinking about. Are there typical groups of people who are behind these attacks? You do that either, okay, you mentioned script kiddies. Of course, this is something that they just do for fun or just because they can. But who are the most important groups behind these ransomware attacks? Are these really, people that want to earn money from it through this ransom, or where's the beef? Where do these attacks really originate from?
Well, to answer this question properly, I think it might be interesting to go a little bit back in time and look at the humble beginnings of ransomware. So it actually all started, I would say, about a decade ago in Eastern European countries like Russia, for example, where I'm originally from. And again, so the first ransomware attacks were very limited to a specific region because, of course, the biggest challenge for a ransomware attacker is to collect the ransom. So how do you get that money from your victim? And back then, the only feasible options for them to collect the money were, for example, premium SMS numbers, where you would have to send a text message to a paid number, or even go to a store and buy something like an iTunes gift card and then send it per post to a hacker. So obviously this does not scale well. And of course, it leaves a trail leading to the attacker. So those original ransomware attacks were very small and done by really like gangs of local thugs, if you will. However, just a few years later, we had this explosive growth of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, of course, makes it, the very anonymity built into Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies makes them the perfect tool to collect ransomware payments around the world, which led to a massive increase of scale and, of course, the massive increase of profitability of such extortion campaign. So yes, ransomware is now a highly lucrative business. There are probably thousands of local and global cyber gangs, if you will, operating in this market. Some are well known and established in the underground markets, or they even run their ransomware as a service, where basically you do not have to create any software yourself. You just take a pre-configured kit, run it through some kind of a distribution campaign, for example, or an email spamming campaign, and you split the earnings with the original creators. So basically you are acting as an affiliate partner of such a ransomware as a service group. And it was fine and dandy for quite a few years. You remember it was probably like 2012, 2015. There were large-scale ransomware attacks. So people were already talking about the problem, but it was not kind of destructive enough. It was not yet a real pandemic until in 2017, we've got this WannaCry attack and then the NotPetya attack. I mean, for our listeners who have probably never heard about those names, those were two major ransomware attacks which were using a highly dangerous Windows exploit, which was supposedly developed by the NSA again, and then later stolen by, again, allegedly a Russian hacker group, which published it, made it available to anyone. And any malware which utilized this exploit could spread across a network to any unpatched Windows machine without any user interaction whatsoever. And one of the biggest victims of the WannaCry attack was the British National Healthcare System, the NHS. But in total, it affected over 200,000 computers across over 150 countries around the world. Whether it was the original intended goal of those attackers, we cannot say. Probably not. They only managed to collect a limited amount of money, but they caused huge financial losses to affected companies. For example, the Danish shipping company Maersk was completely knocked out for weeks, and they estimate their losses to be around $300 million.
So you think that also the collateral damage that occurred through WannaCry was something even unexpected by the originators of this strain, so that they didn't think of that this could spread in such a way that no one actually can pay the ransom for all these boxes that have been infected, and the collateral damage was just that high, which they didn't estimate adequately?
Well, we should clearly understand that all we are talking about now are, at best, our guesses. They are based, of course, on experience, but there will probably never be any undeniable evidence of the motives and the actual people behind those attacks. However, we can presume that, for example, the WannaCry attack did not actually plan to be that destructive, because there was a known kill switch in their malware. And actually, there was a brave British guy, a hero, who discovered this kill switch and used it to slow down the attack. The second one, the NotPetya malware, however, it was probably already used as a weaponized ransomware strain. So its original goal was to disrupt IT systems, not to collect ransom. And it was originally targeted towards Ukrainian companies. And again, it gave the Western media the chance to talk about Russia's involvement, but it was quickly spread uncontrollably all around the world. It affected over 100 countries around the world and caused damage everywhere, including Russia. So again, you can never know what exactly was planned and what exactly went wrong, but you can definitely say that ransomware is no longer just an extortion business. It's really a cyber weapon of mass destruction.
Okay, if we fast forward to today, many news headline with the Emotet strain or family of malware, and is this something that we should consider just right now, with many people working from home, with many people using their machines, their own private personal PC as an entry channel towards corporate networks? What would you say is important when it comes to thinking of ransomware as of today?
Well, that's a really interesting and surprisingly complicated question, because on one hand, since we are all working from home, we usually stay away from our corporate networks. And in that regard, the uncontrollable spread of malware from one machine to another might be somewhat limited. Also, of course, that particular exploit has been long patched by Microsoft, and I don't think we can never exclude the opportunity that there will be another exploit of that scale, but it's not particularly likely at the moment. However, we have already seen that people are now using this whole coronavirus pandemic as an excuse, if you will, as a extremely important topic for spreading the older strains of ransomware, to just kind of exploit the people's fears, to gain the interest in promising a cure or whatever affordable supplies, to lure them and to click a malicious link or to open a program. So yes, ransomware is just as dangerous now as it was earlier. And of course, if your computer is infected, if your data is lost, who will help you if all your IT colleagues are quarantined somewhere else in the world? That's the most difficult question, I guess.
Okay, so but the main entry point is not really a technological one, but it's the user in front of the keyboard. It's social engineering. It's the better the link is that leads to such a malware and an installer, the more interesting it looks like and the more tempting it is, the higher the risk. So it's not necessarily, as you said, a vulnerability that was in an operating system before. Now it's the vulnerability in the person.
Absolutely. And I think the problem exists between the keyboard and the chair. Humans are, unfortunately, always the weakest link in any IT system, even including experts, or at least presumed experts like ourselves. I know that I've been a victim of such attacks earlier. I managed, of course, to contain them early enough to prevent any damage, but again, so nobody is invulnerable. Staying vigilant, kind of checking all the potential attributes of our phishing email or another kind of malicious email or link is the first line of defense, just like washing your hands is the first line of defense against the coronavirus.
Right. So the more non-technical persons are involved, the higher, most probably, the danger is that this really can happen. On the other hand, what would you think if you had to say as a summary for today, what would be the 3 key measures to take when it comes to preventing any company, any organization, any user to fall victim to such an attack? What would be your 3 steps to recommend?
Well, as I think it's clear from the earlier discussion that kind of if you are already hit by ransomware, it's usually already too late. So the best defense against ransomware is proactive prevention. And of course, the first thing you have to think about is having backup copies of all your important documents. Because even if your computer is completely inaccessible, even if your documents are destroyed, but you have a safe backup copy, which is off-site, so it's not affected by ransomware strains, which specifically look for your backup copies and destroy them as well. If it's fresh enough, if it's tested to be readable and recoverable, then basically you are safe. You will only be mildly affected by any ransomware attack. But of course, there are some kinds of ransomware which are already mutating and adapting to this situation. For example, instead of destroying your documents, they will just copy them and try to dox you. That is, they will threaten to publicly reveal your sensitive private information unless you pay the ransom. So obviously you want to avoid that as well. And for that, of course, the most important technology is a proper antivirus or endpoint protection tool. Again, the most important thing is to look beyond the label and check that your antivirus, your EPP solution actually has capabilities built in specifically for protecting you against ransomware. Whether it's just a built-in backup management tool, which will restore any document which is corrupted, or if it's designed to identify a ransomware attack early, looking for specific malicious behavior, you have to ask your antivirus vendor what exactly are they able to offer you with ransomware protection. And of course, the last but the most important security measure is your own common sense. Again, so be vigilant, read any text before blindly clicking on a link, think twice before opening a suspicious attachment. If you receive something from your colleague you are unsure about, call the colleague and ask whether it's really a document from him. Be vigilant.
Okay, great. So that already very well summarizes what we've been talking today. We only had the chance to scratch the surface of this immense topic. I assume that we will follow up on that topic in a later version of this podcast again, and then maybe dig deeper into what a corporation can do, an enterprise can do for protecting itself against these threats. For the time being, Alexei, thank you very much for your time and for helping me in this episode of this podcast around ransomware, which is really highly topical just as of now. Anything you want to add from your side?
Well, maybe the last thing to let our listeners know is that even if they have suffered a ransomware attack, they are still not alone in this world. There are people and companies around the world which are ready to help. There is a lot of information available on the internet, resources which will help you to identify which ransomware have you been affected with, whether there is a known decryptor tool, for example, which will help you recover those documents without paying the ransom. Or if you just need some general guidance, do not hesitate to talk to security experts, including us at KuppingerCole. Again, thank you from my side as well, and stay safe.
I will try my best. And just as a short mention at the end, as you've mentioned it already as well, of course, this is an area where we as analysts have gained expertise, especially you have gained this expertise. So if you want to talk to the expert, if you want to read from the expert, go to our website, go to KuppingerCole.com and just try to find the information you need. And if you have further questions, just ask us. We might be able to help you there. Thank you very much, Alexei, and looking forward to having you as a guest in one upcoming episode of this podcast again. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Goodbye.